kind of stuff, which is fair enough. I have to be in the right kind of headspace to listen to true crime stories, especially like serial killer stuff. I don't always want to listen to that, I gotta be in the right kind of place, because I don't want it to give me nightmares or things like that. But sometimes I do find some of the stories kind of interesting, This one is actually mostly interesting to me because it took place where I grew up in Bellingham, Washington. And my dad actually, like, knew this guy. Not like friends or anything, just like co-worker, acquaintance type situation, run into each other in the break room randomly, kind of thing. So it just was like, to me, I was like, whoa, like that's crazy, So this happened in like the late 70s, and my dad was really young. He was working at Western Washington University. He actually worked there for 30 years. He was a locksmith, and the lock shop where he worked actually shared a building with the campus security department, which is where this Kenneth Bianchi guy worked at the time for a security company that was like third party commissioned by campus security to help them patrol campus. So because those two departments were in the same building, they shared a break room. So that's where my dad would see this guy. Like, they'd be in there sitting down having coffee, him and his co-workers from the lock shop. And then Kenneth Bianchi would come in and like grab a coffee and sit next to them and like randomly, chat with them or whatever. And my dad said, like, I mean, we didn't think much of him, just like, yeah, he's like a regular dude, whatever, like, so it wasn't like glaringly obvious, like, whoa, there's something wrong with that dude, like, which is kind of what it seems like a lot of serial killer type people are easily able to kind of manipulate and blend in. And like a bunch of people said Ted Bundy seemed like a super great nice guy. Like, you wouldn't have thought, oh, he's, something's wrong with him. So yeah, that's why this story is like intriguing to me, just because I lived in Bellingham and my dad knew this guy. Like, it's just kind of interesting. So let's jump into my makeup, and I'll just give you, it's like I'm not getting too in depth on the things he did. I don't really want to go into that. You can look it up if you want to know more, but it's gonna be like a overview type situation, not every detail, big picture overview of this guy, because I don't really want to go into the gory details and stuff. It's not my channel. But there are channels like that, I'm sure. Other ASMR, like true crime channels, that they just do true crime. I'm sure they've probably done this one. So this guy, before he came to Bellingham, he committed several murders in California with a partner. And they were called the Hillside Strangler. While the police were looking, they didn't know there were two people, accomplices. So they were just calling it one, the Hillside Strangler, in California, like Los Angeles area. I'm just going in with some e.l.f. Dewy Coconut Setting Mist. I already had some e.l.f. Thirst Burst Drops primer on my face, and I had some e.l.f. lip, what are they called? Glow Reviver lip oil. I had it's like a rose colored one. I don't know the color. This one I have up here is a different color I'm going to do for the finished look, but I keep that like rosy colored one in my bathroom. I use it all the time. It's like my third actually got a new, like, summer kind of glowy primer situation. This is the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Glotion Natural Glow Enhancer. I got the shade 902. It's called Light Glow. Light Glow. There are lighter shades than this one, but I have a little bit of a tan from working outside, and I've been needing like a little bit more, you know, darker than I have in winter color. So I got this, and I got this tinted hydrator from Wet n Wild, light medium, the shade light medium. So I won't be looking like a ghost anymore. It's my very too light winter shade. Okay. So, Kenneth Bianchi has 12 known victims, 10 from California with the accomplice and 2 in Bellingham, Washington. He was born in Rochester, New York on May 22nd of 1951. So my dad was born in 52, so they were actually like very close to the same age, which is just like so weird too. Let's see here. I wrote down a bunch of stuff, so if you see me looking over here, I'm looking at my notes. Okay, so he was born to a teen mom, and she was actually like living on the streets and doing some, you know, whatever kind of jobs she could do to make money. We'll leave it at that. She was trying to survive. So Kenneth was put up for adoption. Bianchi is the name of his adopted parents, which were Nicholas and Frances Bianchi. I love how glowy this glotion makes my skin. It's so pretty, but it's not like too much. It's not like glitter. It's just like nice, like sun-kissed kind of look. This would be perfect, like if you didn't want to put on any more makeup, just this. This is so pretty. So I guess he had a lot of problems like early on as a kid that his adopted parents noticed. I guess he was like a compulsive liar. He had a really quick temper, and he got really violent when he got angry. He did have above average intelligence. He did have some testing done, and he was intelligence-wise above average IQ. But despite that, he was an underachiever. He didn't really apply himself at school, and he had a lot of problems at school. I gotta get my neck situated, and then we can keep going. Okay, so it is said that he really liked having power and control over others, and he had an obsession with becoming a police officer, believe it or not. I think I've read like that a lot of serial killers have been interested in like becoming police officers, but that a lot of them really struggle to pass like the psyche eval to become one. So that's an interesting, like, I don't know, correlation there. This Wet n Wild tinted hydrator is like so lightweight. Like, I barely can feel that it's on my face, which is how I prefer makeup to feel. I actually don't really like the way makeup goes. I got a new concealer too. This is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser. I have had this before, but this is a brand new one. This is shade 120. Okay, so he married his high school sweetheart, like right after high school. But it only lasted 8 months because, according to her, he was so controlling and cheated on her a lot, and it was obviously just awful. So that ended in a divorce very quickly. I don't remember the exact number, but Kenneth Bianchi, he's actually still alive. He's still in prison in Washington State, but he's been married a lot of times. I don't remember if it was 4 or 5, but it's up there. It's more than 3. I think he's been married 2 different times while incarcerated, but I'd have to double check on that. Don't quote me there. Let's see. So he started trying to take courses towards being a police officer at a community college in Rochester, New York, but he wasn't doing very well, and he dropped out. And it's said that that kind of pissed him off, made him like even more angry. So after that whole situation, he decided to get a job at a security, what do they call it? As a security guard. At a couple different places he worked as a security guard, but he kept stealing things from the companies he worked for, so he had to keep like leaving. Change jobs like pretty frequently. So then in January of 1976, he moved from Rochester, New York to LA, California, to live by his adoptive cousin. And let me just say, the stars aligned in the worst freaking possible way with this one. What are the chances? So his adoptive cousin is the one who became his partner in the killing spree that they went on in California. Literally, what are the chances that your adoptive cousin is like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea, let's do that? I mean, really? I just can't even imagine how that worked out. So his cousin was called Angelo Bono Jr. Angelo Bono Jr. And he had a history of sexual violence himself. So Bianchi got a job at this place called California Land Title, but he was still trying to get a job as a police officer in California, and he was still unsuccessful. So, he started dating one of his coworkers at this land title company. Her name was Kelly Boyd. And she became pregnant with his child, but she refused to marry him. I guess she saw some red flags there, and they kept dating though, and she did start to notice that he was like staying out all hours of the night, and he'd come home acting kind of weird, and basically there were some major red flags going on. And let's see here. So between October 17th of 1977 and February 17th of 1978, Bianchi and his cousin Bono killed at least 10 women. That's what they've admitted to, and what the police have been able to link to them. It's possible there's more, but that's what they know of. And these women were between, well, girls girls and women were between the ages of 12 and 28. And they became known as the Hillside Strangler. So, how they were able to kind of go about doing this so often and getting away with it was they would impersonate police officers. So, people were trusting that, oh, police officers, like, knocking on my door, they are here for something, important, and they're gonna help me or something, like, that's how they got away with, what they did. And basically, they would, I'm not gonna go into it, but they would torture their victims, they would, assault them, do terrible things to them, and then strangle them. That's what their mode of operation was. And it is how they linked all these crimes together, because the, profile of what they did matched in each crime. So, on February 23rd of 1978, Kelly Boyd gave birth to a son, Kenneth's son. But she decided that she wanted to be closer to her mom and dad, who were in Bellingham, Washington. So she moved. She wanted to move back to be by her parents so they could help her with the baby and all that. She actually didn't want Kenneth to come with her, but he begged her and pleaded and promised to change, and he eventually convinced her. And that is how he ended up moving to Bellingham, Washington. He followed the mother of his child to Bellingham. I am looking for a particular brush over here in my little case of brushes. I need my contour brush. Okay, here we go. So, he got a job with Wacom Security Agency as a security guard again. He was still trying to become a police officer. So he applied to be like a reserve officer with the Whatcom County Sheriff's Department, and he began taking police courses again at a community college. He ended up also getting a job later at Fred Meyer on Lakeway Drive, which is the Fred Meyer that my family shopped at my whole time growing up. Obviously, this happened way before I was born, but it's just so weird to know, like, these locations in this story, because I usually don't have any idea, like, where they're talking about when I listen to, like, true crime things. And while he was working at Fred Meyer, he met a coworker there. And her name was Karen Mandick. She's very important. So shortly after he was working at the Fred Meyer, he ended up getting rehired by that Whatcom security company as I think it was patrol captain. Let me see. Yeah, as patrol captain. And that's how he was able to apply to be a reserve officer for the police department. Or Sheriff's Department, Whatcom County Sheriff's Department. gel blush in this shade. Admirable. Alright, so, January 12th of 1979, the Bellingham Police Department received information from the security office at Western Washington University, this is where my dad worked, that 2 students were missing. So one was Karen Mandick, and the other one was her friend Diane Wilder. Definitely need to blend this a little more. I got a little too much. Went crazy with the blush. So, okay, Diane Wilder was a dance major. She was from Bremerton, Washington. She was 27. She was I believe, if I remember right, she was a transfer student. I don't know where she transferred from though. And then Karen Mandick was from Bellevue, Washington. She was 22, and she was a business administration major at WW. One of them went to the Fairhaven campus, which is just a little bit farther away, and then the other one went to the main campus. I believe it was Karen that went to the main campus. So basically what happened is Kenneth Bianchi had told Karen Mandick, I remember he knew her from when he worked at Fred Meyer. They worked there together. He had told her that her and a friend could make $100. He'd pay them $100 if they would go out to this house on Chuckanut Drive. So beautiful, very beautiful drive along the coast. Beautiful water, like overlooking the water. All the houses out there are multi-million-dollar houses. So he had told them if they went out there and they guarded this house for him for 2 hours, because he was busy, he had another job to do, they would guard it for 2 hours while an alarm system in the house was being fixed. He would give them $100 to do that for him. So it was a way they could make some, quick money, and both the girls were working to kind of help supplement their finances, because they were in college and, they needed some cash. So basically he told them, go do that for me. It'll be super easy, quick, quick money, easy money. And this house was basically unoccupied. The owners were traveling abroad, and Bianchi knew this. He'd already scoped the house out, and I'm sure you can imagine that it was not going to work out like the girls expected, and they'd just get this money and it'd be super easy. The only kind of silver lining was that Karen Mandick had told a bunch of other coworkers and her friends about this gig, this job, this quick $100 job. He had told her she was supposed to, don't tell anybody about this, because I'm supposed to be the one guarding it, so I don't want people to know. But she told a bunch of people that she was gonna do this. So she left her job at Fred Meyer for like a late lunch break, because she was working like a later shift. So she had arranged it with her boss that she could have 2 hours off during her shift to go do this. Partly why she had told her boss about it, so she could get the time off to do it. So she left Fred Meyer at like 7 p.m. and she was supposed to be back for her shift again at 9 p.m. She didn't show up. So her boss kind of was worried and was like, that's really weird, because She's very reliable. She shows up for work on time all the time. She'd prearranged this with her, and it wasn't gonna be, she was gonna be back, and it was gonna be an easy thing to do. So basically, after a couple hours of her just not showing up and not contacting or anything, her boss is like, oh, I don't feel very good about this. So the boss actually had a couple friends over at the WW security department. So she had called and was like, hey, can you, check on Karen Mandick? Is she back in her dorm? Like, what's going on? Because she was supposed to come back for work and she hasn't, and it just seems really odd. And it turns out that basically a lot of people, her friends at the dorms and stuff, knew she was doing this job. And so Kenneth Bianchi was immediately like in their headlights, because they were like, this dude told them to meet him, this house or whatever. Like, this seems shady. So basically, the campus security couldn't find either of the girls. Didn't know where they were, so they contacted, Whatcom County Sheriff's Department to report there's 2 students missing under these suspicious circumstances. So thirsty, oh my gosh. So by 4:30 p.m., the women had been located, their bodies had been located in Karen's car, abandoned, kind of on a not very often traveled road. And they were already very suspicious of Kenneth because of this arrangement, this $100 arrangement thing. And so the police questioned him, and his story was like all over the place. Like, he kept changing his story and it didn't make sense, and his alibi was all not like checking out. One of the officers, the sheriff's officers, noticed that he still had a California driver's license. So the officer called to basically just, inquire about this guy in California. Asked the police department where this guy had lived in California. Is this guy on your radar at all? Like, he's up to something up here, we think. So that's when the officers that they contacted in California were like, dude, like, I think you have the Hillside Strangler. So obviously those officers ended up flying up to Bellingham to do more questioning and all of that. And by this time, Kenneth is like, okay, well, I'm caught, so I'm gonna have to fold. So, let's see. Oh yeah, that's right. So they got more search warrants, and they were able to search, Bianchi's place and his van and all of everything he owned. And they found jewelry belonging to some of the women from the murders in California. And then they also found DNA evidence from both Karen Mandick and, what was her name? Diane Wilder. They found DNA evidence in his belongings from both of the women. So police ended up offering him a deal that he would only have to stand trial for 5 of the California murders, because that's what they had evidence linking. They could find evidence for those 5, right off the bat. And the 2 in Bellingham, as long as he flipped on his partner, told them who his partner was, and, basically gave them information that would help them put the partner away, which he did. So he flipped on his cousin, Bono, and they arrested him. And they were able to charge him and get him put in prison. And he has already passed away. He passed away in prison. I think he was like 67 when he passed away. So let's see here. So Bianchi, he's still alive. He's still in the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla, Washington. He is currently serving 2 consecutive life terms there. He's been eligible for parole a couple times, but every time he's asked for it, it's been denied. And the thing is, even if he ever were to make parole in Washington State, he would then have to go to prison in California to serve out his life sentences there as well. So he's never getting out, thank goodness. Yeah, that's basically the story. My thoughts are that, one, I just cannot believe his adoptive cousin. I mean, I cannot believe that. Like, how did that happen? How were these two brought together, and why on earth would that have happened? I can't imagine. It just seems so bizarre that your cousin would just be like, yeah, cool, let's do that. But clearly it did. Also, I think it just kind of really speaks to the fact that, like, back before, like the 80s, that's when, like, a lot of these famous, notorious, let's call them notorious, famous isn't the right word, these notorious serial killers, there was just a bunch of them, like 70s into the early 80s, and that's when people were like, stranger danger, we don't talk to strangers, we don't hitchhike, we don't trust people that we don't know. Like, this is when people were really starting to realize, like, the very trusting culture that was kind of, prevalent at the time was not the best idea, because, like, Ted Bundy, he would often do that. Like, he'd pretend to he'd see someone, like a woman carrying groceries, and he'd be like, oh, let me help you, I can open your door for you, and then force his way in. Or, he often would pretend to be injured and, like, ask, people to help him, like women to help him. Hey, I can't get my surfboard up on my car, I hurt my arm, could you help me? And then, yeah, that's when he would attack. So, the girls, Karen and Diane Wilder, now we kind of look at it and think, my goodness, what were they thinking? Like, why would they agree to something like that? That's crazy. Sounds like a trap, but back then, that just would not have been, people would not have thought, like, that's dangerous at all. It's just like, oh great, I can make some money, It was very much not something people would have thought of. Now, of course, we do, but we had these cases to look at and be like, ooh, yikes. was just like, can't believe. He's like, that is just crazy, you know. When it happened, he's like, I never would have had any idea. Like, it's just some random dude that comes into the break room and like seems pretty normal. And I think that was part of the learning curve too, because people assumed like, well, a serial killer, like, you'd be able to spot them from a mile away. They must be weird and stand out, you know, but no. They seem like your normal dude. So, yeah, very sad for the girls, obviously, all of the women that he took advantage of and took so much from them and their families, and it's just really sad. But I'm really glad, obviously, that he was caught, and quickly. Just like everything else in his life, he was not very good at it. Hence why he got caught on the same day. So thank goodness for that. It's kind of interesting because there's actually been several serial killers. I couldn't name them all to you. You'd have to Google it, but that have like either lived in Bellingham or gone through Bellingham or somehow are associated with Bellingham, Washington. So weird. My only thought is that maybe it's because Bellingham is so close to Canada, it's right there on the border, that like these people are thinking, oh, I might be able to like escape to Canada if the police start catching on to me, you know. Obviously Bianchi ended up there because of his girlfriend wanting to be close to her parents. I highly doubt he had any thoughts about, you know, oh, we'll escape to Canada or whatever, but like the others, smarter than him, I wonder if that's part of it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is my lips, I'm just going to do like this pink liner. This is Rimmel London Lasting Finish Exaggerate Liner. East End Pink, number 63. East End Pink. I guess my other thought is along that line of like worst serial killer I've ever heard of. Why would you pick people that you know, like neighbors and coworkers and such, just from the sheer fact that like it's so much easier to trace it back to you because they know you, and most people are killed by someone they know. So, like, why would you do that? You just, you know, not very good at anything, I guess. Thank goodness, because, like I said, they caught him immediately, but okay, and then I'm gonna go in with the e.l.f. This one is called Candy Coated Glow Lip Reviver Oil in Candy Coated. dope it up. Dope it up. And I'm trying to think, what brand is this? It's Essence. That's right, Essence. It rubbed off. It used to be right there. It's from the brand Essence. I got this at Target, but I love this one. Those colors, like, especially for like, I don't know, like a date night. I'm not going on a date night, but I just felt like wearing it. I haven't worn it in a long time. I was like, oh, I want to wear that one. So, this is the final look, and that was the story of Kenneth Bianchi. And, I'm pretty happy with how the makeup turned out. I'm happy with the shade match for my suntan, and I hope that you guys enjoyed watching the video. If you did like this video, don't forget to leave a like and share the video, and please do subscribe to the channel